Hey everyone, thanks for joining us in this remote setting for our meeting, but I'll kick it off. I'm Jake Knostman. I'm a product manager on the CredHub team,
Hi, I'm Tom Kennedy. I'm one of the engineers on the CredHub team.
and we're here to talk to you about some updates in the product of CredHub, as well as some of the exploration work and work we're starting on the CF for k8s project. So when the CF for k8s project was first kicking off, we were in a state where much of the team wasn't super familiar with Kubernetes itself. So we figured what better thing to do than do a discovery and framing. Based on that, we were setting out to do 2 weeks dedicated just to learning Kubernetes itself and seeing what credential primitives are in the platform, what things are necessary. We talked to different service teams like RabbitMQ, some of the open source contributors to Kubernetes itself, and just try to get a general idea of what areas we could add value to our CF for k8s offering, given that we know a good amount about credential management and storage and creation for things in Cloud Foundry itself. We figured we should figure out where we can add value to CF for k8s in a Kubernetes-based world.
So we had some key takeaways from this discovery and framing, one of which was that platform operators and developers currently have no easy way to securely generate secrets in Kubernetes, especially in a way that prevents humans from seeing any kind of secret value. So this was one massive area that we were like, we definitely can provide value. We also saw that secrets appear to be inconsistently used. And what I mean by that is some people will throw a bunch of values into one secret. Others might, do various different things with their secrets, like how they store them, or whether they move them onto disk. Some people put in config maps and a whole bunch of different things. And we wanted to try and get everyone aligned on that. We also saw that platform operators and security engineers had some questions around the security level of Kubernetes secrets in general, mainly due to the lack of default encryption of etcd. There was some encryption that you could do through public cloud KMS offerings, but in the private cloud, this didn't really exist.
Yeah, so in order to level set on some of the work that we're trying to get into the CF for k8s project, we wanted to make sure we could do a quick recap on the benefits of CredHub in the Cloud Foundry world, so the non-k8s world as we know it today, just so that we can make sure everyone knows what sort of feature parity we're looking to get towards, and go from there. So yeah, CredHub is a component of Cloud Foundry itself. It's a simple, secure credential service built specifically for handling those secrets, credential generation, storage for the platform. It's pretty simple, but it is really powerful in that it prevents developers or operators from ever needing to see passwords. Instead, they can provide only references in their manifest, and then Bosch and Cloud Foundry itself know how to talk to CredHub and send their results over to whatever application or any product that needs it.
Okay. So that brings us to a question that we've been getting asked a lot lately, which is what is CredHub going to look like on Kubernetes, or when can I expect CredHub on Kubernetes? So we originally considered deploying CredHub to Kubernetes, and we figured, great, this will solve our generation secure storage problems, but it didn't really fit into those Kubernetes native patterns that we really wanted to be aligned to. We also saw that there's tons of good solutions from the community already that we would be able to leverage and deliver those same outcomes that everyone was used to with CredHub for VMs. We do think that there is some opportunity to improve upon the lifecycle management of certificates, specifically around rotation and revocation and things like that. But we didn't want to manage a lot of secrets via a credential vault. And what I mean by that is we see the future of Kubernetes secrets being more reliant on an underlying service mesh, and there will be very little hopefully no secrets that we will have to event generate long term. Everything will be done through identity-based authentication, and certificates will be issued by the service mesh. So we think that ideally the world will move away from something like a credential vault.
Yeah, and so one of the first tracks of work that we're really diving into right now that we see as I wouldn't say a big problem, but something that we could make better in the CF for K8s world is that currently in the alpha, the secrets that are being generated, so the passwords and certificates, are being generated on the client side using the Bosch CLI to actually create a file that is then applied, which, as we talked about in some of the benefits of CredHub, ideally no human should ever see the passwords themselves. So what our goal was on this track of work is to be able to securely generate capital S secrets, which is a concept in Kubernetes that is a way to store credentials or passwords and that sort of stuff, to deploy the platform without human intervention. So today, as I mentioned, secrets are being used in a sort of inconsistent way. There's a lot of options you can do with capital S secrets in the Kubernetes world, and teams are taking full advantage of that in order to try to make it so there's a limited amount of code difference between their Cloud Foundry offerings and the CF for K8s offerings. So what we're hoping to do is come up with a solution that hides the secret values from developers and operators, but allows component teams to stick to a model that they'll be able to maintain long-term for both regular Cloud Foundry and CF for K8s. And our current plan to do that is to leverage these things in the Kubernetes community called CRDs, or custom resource definitions. Basically what that is you can tell Kubernetes that this is a resource type that our controllers should be able to watch for and know how to act on. So you can make references to, hey, I need a secret of this type here, and it would be able to eventually generate that and put it where a component would in order to.
So the next area that we saw was etcd encryption, like we talked about. And we figured that we could add value by providing users the ability to encrypt their etcd data at rest. This originally was incredibly high priority for us coming out of the discovery and framing, but the Kubernetes community, specifically Kubernetes itself, has come up with ways to allow for a generic etcd encryption using a KMS plugin. So now that that exists, we figured we would shift our focus 100% towards secret generation, and we will pick up this track of work again if we find areas that we can improve upon the encryption that is offered by Kubernetes now, or improve the way in which users are able to deploy plugins or something like that. Ideally, we would be providing feature parity with CredHub in terms of secure storage in the long term.
Yep, so that brings us to the question of what's the future of CredHub in the K8s world? If you notice, we haven't been using the word CredHub specifically in the CF for K8s stuff that we're talking about. And that's because we don't think that CredHub as we know it with the name CredHub will likely be a component of CF for K8s. Instead, we'll be delivering pretty much the same outcomes as the current CF, but we want to, or this CredHub for CF, sorry about that. But we want to use more K8s native tools so that customers and developers are able to use the same language that they are used to talking to Kubernetes in order to deal with their secrets and make it a more K8s-based approach. However, the CredHub for Cloud Foundry itself will continue to be developed and maintained, as it's not going away at any point soon. But we want to make sure that we support the credential generation across whatever CF or whatever platform CF supports. So we tend to look at ourselves more than just the CredHub team as we're named, but instead as a team that's in charge of standardizing and securing credential generation across whatever platform CF supports. One thing to call out here is you'll probably notice that neither access control nor delivery of secrets or credentials to components on the platform themselves is listed here, but they are definitely on our radar as they would get us towards feature parity with CredHub on Cloud Foundry. But we got to start with the secret generation, as that's most prevalent in the first creation of the platform itself as a user deploys it.
All right, so most of these tracks are still in the very early stage, and we would really be open and welcome to any feedback that anyone has on how we can improve or further refine what we're working on. So some things that would be great to hear from the community are what would you expect from our work with CF for k8s, any feature requests you may have, or any validation of ideas or concepts that we've brought up so far. You can find us in the Cloud Foundry Slack in the CredHub channel, or you could email Jake or myself if you have any questions or feedback. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we'll be available for Q&A, I think, using the application that CF Summit provides.